Hello, and in today's video we are doing an FPL review of game week number 17 as well as an FPL preview for game weeks 18 and 19. I know you might think, why not just film these as separate videos, but I'm going to just do it as one whole video so you can watch this today, as the deadline of course is 6:15, but you can also rewatch this come 5:30 when Brentford-Liverpool kicks off game week 19. That's the deadline of 4 o'clock, 90 minutes before kickoff, because it will be all in one bumper video. So I hope you enjoy. Smash a like on the video, comment your thoughts on game week 18 and 19, and let's get into the video. So before I do show you my game week 17 results, let me just set the scene of how I was looking at going into that World Cup break. We had two transfers. We used those two free transfers, brought in Luke Shaw and Dominic Solanke, and Shaw conceded against Fulham. I was gutted. Solanke didn't score. I was gutted, but he did get an assist at least, and it was a very bad game week to start, the World Cup break. Really disappointing. We had the freemium of Kane, Salah and Haaland, but then we had terrible budget picks that we had to start, like Leon Bailey, who didn't get any points in that disappointing Brighton game. So going into game week number 17, we were looking on a pretty stinky rank, I can't lie. I say stinky, it was one of the best of the season, but what I mean by that is 41 points is never nice. It was one of my lowest this season. Game week 6, I think, was definitely my lowest because I got 30 points or something mad. That was mad. That really was. But yeah, basically, the worst game week I've ever had. There has been worse than this, so I had to kind of bounce back in game week 17. But going into game week 17, I was on a rank of 248,890 with 933 overall points. So what did I do? I obviously had the whole World Cup break to change my transfers and change my strategy. A few times I had a team with Mitrovic, Haaland and Kane and Salah, and then I went for Haaland, Darwin, Kane, but no Cancelo, and etc. It changed a lot. Eventually, though, we did have a team in Game Week 17's preview video of Wilson, Haaland and Nunez, but that changed, because it then changed to Wilson, Martial and Haaland. And I decided right on the Christmas day to make a move, and my front three was much better. Kane, Haaland and Martial. So we'll get to that, but ultimately I was not looking forward to Game Week 17 because of how bad Game Week 16 was. But let's get into it. Game Week 17, 98 points. Absolutely beautiful. What a game week for me to come back from the World Cup. FPL is back and in style. Brilliant stuff. Edison. Now, obviously, that's a shame. Leeds score right, near the end of that Man City game, and City concede. But it is what it is. City are the best defence in the league. I don't regret that decision. He covers the Man City defence with no Cancelo there. It just makes sense. I just like it as a pick. So with the double game week coming up in 20, City, of course, going to have that double game week of Tottenham and Manchester United. So yeah, look, ultimately, I'm pretty happy with it. So before we go any further, I'd just like to say rest in peace to the man, the myth, the legend, Pele. What a player, and he will be sorely missed. But going into my defence, Trippier, my guy. He is literally the FPL cheat code this season. Another attacking return. He gets an assist against Leicester and 3 bonus points as well. Just absolute delight to own this guy. Brilliant stuff. Reece James, so Reece James I had pretty much all time in my draft, so that's not like a last minute thing. Whereas in my last preview video for Game Week 17, I had Kepa in goal with Danny Ward, and I switched that around, took out Cancelo, put in Edison. James is different. James was always a constant, and I just didn't see myself going without him because of his attacking points potential. Unfortunately, disaster struck. He got injured and came off on 53 minutes. You just hate to see it. 52 minutes in, and it's happened again. Groundhog Day. So no 60 minutes, not even the appearance points, but of course no clean sheet that Chelsea did in fact get, let alone the attacking return. So, it's a real shame. He's just getting so unlucky with injury. I bring him back on my wild card from the World Cup, and look what happens. But that is the main topic of today's video, my Reece James replacement. Gabriel, 2 points. Look, at the end of the day, I'm still happy to own him because he's got great goal threat going forward. But it was a shame that West Ham scored with that Benrahma penalty. It was just one of those things. It was, in my opinion, a fairly soft penalty. But, as a Gabriel owner, I was just seeing it as a more outrageous decision than most people would. So it is what it is. Gabriel looks good with the game week 23 double for Arsenal, and possibly in game week 21 as well, if that Everton fixture gets rescheduled. So I really am happy to own this guy going forward. But after that, my friends, it is absolutely world class from Erling Hazard landed, because the points have landed. Here we go. Almiron, the first time I've owned him all season, and my days, what a great feeling it is to own him. 8-pointer, a lovely goal against Leicester, and I'm just so happy I have him because he's just in fire. He's on fire. He's in fire. He's everything on fire. He's just a fantastic player, and that goal was superb. Martinelli once again keeps ticking along now. Admittedly, the value I tied up in him with the 0.4 million saved was a factor, but it's just a shame to see that Ødegaard and Saka unfortunately outscore Martinelli. But long term, I still believe Martinelli's the better option. I know it's tempting to go to Ødegaard. He gets a lot of assists, and he's on free kicks. He gets quite a few goals this season. Saka, of course, on penalties, and it's a nice price point at that 8 million slot. But for me, Martinelli is just the OG. Like, he's the number one guy. Scored on day one, still keeps scoring. And for me, he seems to be playing further forward than Martinelli and Ødegaard. Obviously, Nketiah did score, so he's another option as well. But I just prefer Martinelli for the value that you get from him. So for me, it's very easy to own him, but it's also very tempting to switch him. Rashford, 14-pointer. That is what we love to see. We brought in Marcus Rashford on the Game Week 8 wildcard, and it didn't, unfortunately, go our way. But Groundhog Day, time has come for him to be back in, and that was exactly why I wanted to own him in the first place. 14 points, what a performance, a goal and an assist in that win against Nottingham Forest. What an absolute joy, Marcus Rashford. Mohamed Salah, big 50-50 swing for those that went Kevin De Bruyne, but I just had faith in Salah. He had more explosive stats, and he's on penalties. He had a good fixture against the Aston Villa team that had Martinez out, so it just made sense to go with him, and he delivered in big style. A goal and an assist, lovely stuff. So then the front line, look at this, all goals. So this is my record game week of all time for the most number of returns in one single game week. Not even just a double game week, a single game week. 11 returns for this team. I mean, that is unbelievable. An assist from Trippier, a goal from Almiron, a goal from Martinelli, a goal and an assist from Rashford, a goal and an assist from Salah, a goal from Martial, a goal from Kane, and 2 goals from the Captain King, who of course outscored Mo Salah, Erling Haaland. So Rashford was never on my mind. I was always going to captain Haaland because of the effective ownership, because everyone captains him, and ultimately you do not gain a lot from captaining Haaland, but you could lose a lot by not doing it. So it just is not worth it. Rashford, he might have been differential, but even if I'd have captained Rashford, the thing is, if everyone has captained Haaland and you've captained Rashford, even though it's going to gain you a bit because Rashford scored more than Haaland, it's going to also take away a bit because, if you have Haaland and Rashford, then most people are going to have Haaland, and therefore like it basically evens out. So eventually it has that effect. But what a game week! What an unbelievable game week from this FPL Yellow Army team. I mean, we're talking about FPL Yellow Army. In that front line, Martial was my big differential. He was looking at about 5% ownership. Edison as well was about 13%, and also Gabriel about 14%. But Martial, I fancied him because I thought about Wilson. I thought perhaps he's just a bit too injury prone. And I thought Martial, with that fixture against Forest, had to be attacked. And look, got a goal. Very, very happy with that. Back in form now. The question is, of course, when do we bring in Mitrovic? Because he's got that double in game week number 19 that we really want him for, because he was superb against Palace. But the problem is this suspension tightrope with Mitrovic. If he gets another yellow card, then he'll miss one match. And if he gets it against Southampton, then he misses one of the games in the double game week. And it's arguably the better fixture, Leicester City. So, yeah, we got to hope Mitrovic comes out of that Southampton with no yellow card. But it's just not worth, when Martial has just scored, getting in Mitrovic this soon. I think we wait for game week 19, make sure he's got no yellow card. Obviously, there can be a scenario then that he gets booked against Leicester and doesn't face Chelsea, but at least then he's got the Leicester fixture, which in my opinion is the better of the two. So there's always a risk he doesn't get a double game week, Mitrovic, even though he has one because of the yellow card. But even with Mitrovic, he's just good enough in one fixture. So it's fully worth it, in my opinion, taking that risk of yellow cards come game week 19. But also it's a great fixture for Martial against Wolves coming up. So for me, it makes sense to just go with that for now. Also, the other thing to say is I was just noticing as well, if you look at Martial's fixtures, that's a bit dodgy. Crystal Palace, Man United, Brentford, Forest, Brighton. Right, how does that make any sense then? Palace, Man United, Brentford. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's impossible. How has Martial got those fixtures then? Someone explain to me. I would really like that. But anyway, still got the goal. Kane scored again. Why don't people have him in his team? It's actually mad. He's always scoring on Boxing Day, and that's why he had to come in. And the freemium did the wonders. I mean, Salah, Haaland, Kane, they're the best three players in FPL in the league, and they all scored. So that's just captaincy. Yes, it is a factor, but it's just value points. And Kane was so differential as well. So it was a lovely thing to see him rip net against Brentford. And then Haaland, 2 goals. That is what he does. Against Leeds, of course, there was a narrative with his father playing for them. And my goodness me, he was superb, Haaland. Once again, 20 Premier League goals now. What an absolute freak. The bit of regret I do have is, of course, Kepa Arrizabalaga. But in my head, it was easy to decide Edison because City were the better defence. Obviously, the fixtures were close. Leeds against Bournemouth, there's not a lot in that. But it is what it is, right? It's only 7 points. At the end of the day, we still had a great game week, and one small decision doesn't change that. Andreas, 3 points. Did, of course, blank. He's going to blank most weeks, but ahead of game week 19, where he's got 2 lovely fixtures, I think it's tempting to start him. Patterson, 0 points. That's why he's on my bench, ultimately. Not much of a points getter, but at least he's, starting games. And then Bueno, 1 point. Again, not much of a points getter. Did get subbed off, so that's an interesting thing for the future, but we shall see about that. So let's now talk about how that affected my game week rank and all that stuff. And before we do preview my team for game week number 18 and 19, we're just going to run you through how the FPL Yellow Army's Loyal Legion mini league is looking, because there's been a recent update to that in the standings. So let's talk you through that now then. Game week number 17, 98 points. As I mentioned, all 7 attackers getting a goal. So 8 goals in total. 248k. We've risen to 156,616. So that's an increase, green arrow, of 92k. Wow, what a game week. Boy, is it good to be back in the swing of things. So that is my highest game week score of the season. And now I'm on my highest overall rank of the season. So we've surpassed the 1,000 point mark, which is always nice. Very, very decent indeed. And we've done it with 98 points. Lovely stuff. Look at that for a Gameweek rank as well. 480,000. Very, very strong when there's so many players playing the game. 10 million to be, in fact, in specifics. So we've also got ourselves the best rank of a Gameweek rank for our personal scores since Gameweek 10. We got a great Gameweek rank in Gameweek 10, also in Gameweek 1. So just 9 points now off that top 100k, and no players got benched. You know, a few players had the benching nightmares like Foden and Cancelo. Come on. You just knew that they were going to get benched. You just pick the nailed players. That's what I do, but don't know about you. Anyway, let's talk to you then about this Game Week 17 standings for the mini league, because ultimately it's going to be important to let you know how that is developing. So I can tell you that remember at the end of the season, the winner of the overall FPL Yellow Army's mini league standings will win themselves shout out across all of my socials and get to feature on my end of season video, which will be reviewing FPL Game Week 1 to 38 for the 2022 to 23 season. So this is how the standings are looking like in the mini league then. FPL Yellow Army's Loyal Legion, we've still got James Walton at top, Botman and Ruben, and then I'm down in 6th, but this is how it's looking. And then if we just look in the bottom half of the table, we've got Casper Allen stinking it out. And can I just say, 7 points from Ethan Fish. I think he genuinely is trying to score as few points as possible with all those players. I mean, that is actually outrageous. But he had Greenwood with an assist, so yeah, pretty crazy really. But let me tell you about the other league, which is of course the Division 1 and Division 2. So the way it works is the cup winner will get promoted to Division 1 for next season. Division 2, top 2 gets promoted to Division 1. And then the bottom 3 of Division 1 relegated to Division 2. And of course, remember, Division 1 and Division 2 was made by me based on how people's FPL finishes were overall ranks from last season. And if you got a six-figure rank or less, i.e. that was the best rank you got, you got even better than less than 6 digits, then you got in Division 1. If you got more than 6-figure digits, i.e. you finished lower in the world, then you finished in Division 2. That's how it worked. So in terms of Game Week 17 scores for Division 1, in current last position in Division 1 is the aforementioned Ethan Fish, 777 overall points with just 7 points last game week. That is mad. Then we've got third last I say third last, that's not actually correct. What I mean by that is second last. Yeah. So second last and third last. So second last with Division 1 is Gok Hale. So Gok Hale with 833 points. You know who you are, with 95 this week. And then third last, so the other team that would be relegated as it stands, Andrew O'Brien with 886 overall points and 83 points this week. And then in Division 1, of course, who is it that is looking to get promoted or close to getting promoted? Well, in Division 1, you can't get promoted, but you can, of course, win the title. So in third spot in Division 1, currently is yours truly. Yes, FPL Yellow Army. I know, 1,031 overall points, 98 last week. But in second spot in Division 1 is FPL Apprentices. He's just ahead in the table for some reason. 1,031 overall as well. FPL Apprentices, you scored 93 points this week. But then in first place, who is currently topping Division 1? Well, I can in fact tell you, it is Simon Marjolis with 1,032 overall points, 100 points this week. Well done, mate. Of course, I know that James is top in the overall FPL league, but of course he is in Division 2 because of where he finished last season. Talking of Division 2, in current spot in bottom of Division 2, and looking like they're going to really stink it out, is unfortunately Casper Allen with 681 points. That, my friends, is far from ideal. The other thing to say is that in Division 2, currently, we have got a few different things to talk to you about. Firstly, the team that is currently sat in Division 2 in second place is Muheki Oscar with 1,052 points, very strong. And then in third place with 1,050 points, it's Bernard. And then they scored 94 this week, and Muheki scored 76. But in fourth place is Sumava with 1,084 points this week. And in first place is, of course, James, who is on an overall points of 1,086, getting 83 this week. So very, very strong stuff indeed. Well done, mate. Let's now tell you about my Game Week 18 team. So here is Game Week 18. Let's get amongst it. We've got Edison in goal once again. We don't mess about. Look, at the end of the day, City are the better defence out of them and Chelsea. I'm sticking to my guns, and this time it will work, I'm telling you. Everton defensively have been a bit shambolic. Attacking, they've been even worse in my opinion. They've not scored enough goals. Calvert-Lewin might be back fit, admittedly, from injury, but I still think City at home, you have to fancy them. And that goal against Leeds, it was just a very unlucky one for Edison to concede. Got a hand to it, couldn't quite keep it out, but I think he will get a clean sheet here. And, you know, he's actually got assist potential. He has got assists before. He's done it in the past. He's done it this season, but he also did it in a double game week against Spurs. I think it was Spurs and Everton. And Everton is this fixture. I'm just saying. But no, ultimately, I think Edison is a baller. So he's going to be in between the sticks and hopefully get home the clean sheet. Trippier never leaves my team. I don't care what fixture he has. He never gets benched. He is just the best FPL asset this season, along with Haaland. James is a problem, so he's going to be talked about. Leeds obviously are attacking, but I still feel Newcastle are one of the best defences, so I'm not too worried about that. James has got to go because he's out for 3 to 4 weeks, plus time to recover. You know, when you think about that, they want to get him back in slowly. He's going to be out for a while, so I would love to have been able to roll the transfer, have 2 for Game Week 19, and then, you know, get more news about double Game Week fixtures being confirmed, and then, you know, getting my Reece James replacement. Unfortunately, with the setup I have, you know, the freemium is delicious, and as tempting as it is, it does come at its drawbacks, because it means that I have Bueno and Patterson to back up my defence. And obviously, if I had a Ben White, or I had a Dallo, or actually no, that's a bad example, he's out injured, or, you know, one of those players who was fit and ready with a good fixture, then I'd put him straight in. But unfortunately, my 2 other defenders in a 3-4-3 are not worth starting this week. Bueno against United and Patterson v City. So, Reece James, you've got to go straight away. And for me, there's a few options that I'll talk about at the end of the video. Now, Gabriel, Brighton away is not an easy fixture. I expect Brighton to score. So, I'm not looking for a clean sheet. But the thing we've got with Gabriel is attacking goal threat. He's always up at set pieces. And Arsenal do score a lot of goals. So, I'm hopeful of Gabriel getting something there. Almiron, this is the guy. I mean, he's just unbelievable form, and it's a Leeds team that are leaking goals. He's at home. Come on, Almiron, it's time to bring home the bacon once again, my guy. Martinelli, still good value, scored last week, and I bet he can score again. Ultimately, Brighton's not going to be an easy game, but I still feel Arsenal are good enough to win that. Rashford, what a game he was putting in against Nottingham Forest, and Wolves defensively are still quite dodgy at times. I think they weren't brilliant against Everton, but they got the win. So I think Rashford can really get at this Wolves side. Salah, Leicester at home. He loves scoring against Leicester. I'm very tempted to captain him, but I just think Haaland is just too good to ignore. Ultimately, though, Salah is in great form, and after the goals against Villa, he'll be very, very happy. Martial, Wolves fixtures, not the best of fixtures, but it's also a decent enough one for a player who's in form, Martial, and, you know, he's scored at Molineux before. I think he could do it again, but he's going to be a reluctant sell when Mitrovic comes in, for sure. Harry Kane, not even thought about selling him, despite the fact he's got the same problem as Mitrovic with those 4 yellow cards. I think Kane is less likely to get booked than Mitrovic. So I'm happy to just keep him until game week 20 when Spurs double. And Kane's on pens. He keeps scoring. He's Mr. Consistent. He did it once again last week. So happy to own this guy. And I can't believe I considered dropping him for Nunez. I mean, that would have been silly. The thing is, Mitrovic, obviously, in an ideal world, would be there. But I think Kane is just so good that maybe it might just be worth it. Then, Haaland, captain, of course. Everton defensively are still so suspect in my view. And look, at the end of the day, Haaland's at home against a team that conceded a lot of goals, and he scored 2 last night. I mean, it's just madness. He's just so good. Arrizabalaga could get some points, but I think with Forest at the City Ground, they'll be up for it. I don't think Chelsea necessarily concede, but I think Ederson gets more points. I just have to back the better defence once again. But obviously we'll play Arrizabalaga for the double game week in game week 19 coming up. Then Andreas, home against Southampton. For me, I'd love to start him, but there's no point dropping any of the players I've got in my team. And then Bueno, home United, no thanks. And Patterson, away City, no thank you either. So, for me, it's very simple. Reece James is coming out. And who, my friends, is going in? Well, it's a bit of a full circle. I don't like to bring in the same sort of players, but sometimes you've just got to accept when there's a better option. And that option, my friends, is Luke Shaw. Now, I mentioned how pre-World Cup, he was the player I brought in for that final fixture against Fulham, and he did disappoint. No attacking return and no clean sheet against Fulham. But I think this Wolves attack is worse than the Fulham attack, and ultimately, Luke Shaw looks really good as an option. He did go up in price this morning, which is a bit of a shame. I missed out on that, but to be honest, 1.4 in the bank is plenty anyway. You know, at the end of the day, Shaw is going to be an option that I'll start most weeks. I mean, the fixtures aren't great coming up, but game week 20, if he gets a double game week, he could be decent. So for me, he's the best replacement for James, along with Cucurella. But for me, Cucurella is too short term of an option. Shaw, at least you know, is going to get most games and he's attacking. I thought about Botman, but I don't want to double up on that Newcastle defence just yet. I just think, you know, when you've got the likes of a Shaw with these good fixtures, and, you know, I'm going to have to bench Botman against Arsenal, and there's no attacking threat from Botman, and ultimately Shaw is nailed. Botman is as well, but I just think the money that I'm getting with Botman, I can really invest in Shaw and get a better FPL asset on its own. Botman's not really got any attacking threat. It's just 6 points every week, and I just don't know if Newcastle defensively against Arsenal will be able to keep a clean sheet, and then, you know, I'm not going to be wanting to start Botman every week when Shaw is just a better option. So for me, that's the transfer to make, and I'm going to lock it in with 1.4 still in the kitty. Mitrovic will come in, don't you worry, but for now, the transfer is locked in. Luke Shaw, come back into my team, redeem yourself from that Fulham game. You've come out of the World Cup a better player, I'm sure, and triple up against Manchester United Wolves. I mean, who'd have thought it? But we've gone for it, and I'm liking that team. It's looking delicious for game week number 18. So that's game week 18 done with the captaincy and the transfers. But what are we doing game week 19? Because that is just around the corner as well. In terms of the fixtures for game week 18 and 19, we've gone through them briefly already. But game week 19, you've got Liverpool for Salah. He's got Brentford. And you've also got a tricky fixture for Almiron. So it's reluctant that I have to do this. But with Andreas Pereira having that double game week, Almiron's going to have to be benched for Andreas. So this is what my team is going to look like. Just quickly, I will show you the kind of makeup of my team. So let's just imagine for a second that these fixtures are for game week 19. So Kepa's going to be with the double game week. He's got that double against Man City and Fulham. Then Trippier never leaves my team, absolutely. Luke Shaw's going to have Bournemouth at home, so he's going to be starting. We've got Gabriel against Newcastle at home. Look, not the best fixture because of how good Almiron and Newcastle are, but to be honest, I'd start Gabriel in any game because of his goal threat. Almiron, reluctantly, is going to be coming out for Andreas Pereira, who's got the double game week. Now, I know that the fixtures aren't perfect for Fulham, but look, if I have Mitrovic and Andreas, then at least I'm getting some double game week players. With no double game week defender, it just makes sense. Now, I could even get in like a Chelsea attacker or like a Havertz or someone. But then it's like, well, I'm going to want Mitrovic over Havertz any day. So I just might have to accept that I'm not going to have much Chelsea. And ultimately, they're not in the best of form anyway. Mason Mount is just too hard to get to. And Havertz, I'm not really sure about minutes-wise. So Chelsea defensively are a bit suspect. And that's why I'm just thinking, Kepa, he's enough for me. I don't need much more. Sometimes you've got to go be careful with a double game week. Don't go all out, but get the best players. And for me, Kepa is good value. Andreas is amazing value. And Mitrovic is the best FPL asset from Game Week 19. Presuming he has two. But look, at the end of the day, I wasn't going to captain Mitrovic for Game Week 19 anyway, because obviously there's that threat of him getting a yellow card. So my captain in Game Week 19 is simple. It's not going to be Erling Haaland. I know, controversial because of his ownership and his captaincy, despite the fixture against Chelsea. My captain is going to be Mohamed Salah against Brentford. You've heard it here first, people. Okay? That is my captain. My vice-captain is, of course, Erling Haaland. Now, I could easily captain Kane against Palace, a team he loves scoring against. But for me, Brentford defensively are a bit more suspect than people think. And I think Salah can deliver. The only thing that does put me off is that that's the first fixture of the game week away to Brentford. And if he blanks, then it will really hurt. And Haaland is quite late on in the game week. So that is a thing to factor in. But I still believe that early case of the kickoff, that does apply most occasions, but not when it comes to Salah. So Salah, you're my captain, and Haaland, you're my vice. So therefore, that's my team selection locked in for the game week. Now, obviously, Mitrovic is one that I don't want to go without. So Martial is going to come out, and Mitrovic is going to come in as my game week 19 transfer. But the plan is to be having City triple up by game week 20. So Kevin De Bruyne will come in probably for game week 21, and we're also going to go for a nice little maybe differential to possibly replace Rashford. But we can do that by game week 21 because of the fact that Arsenal probably won't double till then, if they do double. And Trossard as well, I've looked at for Rashford. That could be decent as well. Rashford also is just so good that he could play through these tough fixtures, and I don't mind about it at all. Luke Shaw, of course, fixtures-wise is not ideal, but I'm happy to play him through as well. Ultimately, I don't really see myself starting Bueno and Patterson, so I'm just happy to kind of, even through the tricky fixtures, play Luke Shaw, and that is Bob's your uncle, because I might only have to bench him for game week number 21, and that's Arsenal away. Now, if you look at that, you think, okay, tricky fixture, but game week 20, United could have a double, so even though it's Man City, I could play Luke Shaw that week. So by the time game week 21 swings around, I'm sure I'll find a way to, have another defender there. So it could be someone else other than Shaw by game week 21, or it could easily be someone brought in for Bueno or Patson to cover Luke Shaw, who's going to be benched against Arsenal. So that's my team for game week number game week number 19, the double game week. So obviously I could bring in Mitrovic now, but he's not played Southampton, so that's just a planned transfer, Martial to Mitrovic. Thanks for watching my game week number 18 and 19 preview. I hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on the video. Do subscribe if you're new, and I shall see you in the next one. Haaland captain against Everton. Locked in. Bye-bye.